Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Hayden and I am a full-time software engineer based in London. In this video, we're going to be building our first Python project with all the skills that we've learned in the previous video in this series. So if you've not watched them, go have a look at them, where we are actually going to build a Hangman game in Python. So before we start, I'm just going to show you what the game's going to look like. We're going to have a game like this, where you've got your Hangman here. You've got your word to guess here, and then you pick a letter. So I'm going to say A. Oh, I got that's right. E, I, O, U. Interesting. Oh, I know what this word is. So then I'm guessing the word by typing it in, and you can see it's populating here. But all my wrong guesses, we were getting hangman. And if I get it right, woohoo! You found N in the word and you guessed the word. Well done. And then we finish. So this is going to be the little game we're going to make. Load up PyCharm, create a new script called Hangman, and that's where we're going to start. So the reason I chose PyCharm is because it adds you a lot of extra benefit. For example, when you're creating a Python script, you must start your script with a function called main. And if you see that there's a little drop down here that it gives you two options, you want to be clicking this one, this name equals main. So how are we going to build Hangman? Well, first off, we're going to need a list of words to pick from. So I'm going to pop in some let's call software. Actually, I'm going to write these all in capitals just because it might be slightly easier to work with later. Cool. So just some subconscious words for you to take into account there, and definitely agree with all of them, but these are going to be our words for Hangman. So how are we going to do this? First, we need to essentially print out to the console our word. So we need to pick a random word first. So don't worry about this too much for now, but I want you to go to the top of the script and type the word import in lowercase rand, and then we can use it's called a package, but we can use random to basically pick a random word from our list of words here. So this is our word to guess here, and this is it. And this is going to be our word to guess. So we're importing a package called random. We do random dot, and then it's calling a function. We've not learned about functions here, but you can copy this code, so it's totally fine. And pick a random word. And if we print out word to guess now, and if I run this program, if I run Hangman, you can see we get YouTube, and if I run it again, we're going to get engineer, and you see it's just randomly picking one of these words. What we essentially need to do is have a word to display. So I'm making variables now, so word to display, and that is going to be equal to, I'm going to do a lowercase this times the length, another object function, times our word to guess. So we picked a random word to guess, and we need a word to display. Obviously we don't want to display the word to the user, but what we want to do is guess the word. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to print our word to display. No, I'm not. I'm going to print, let's say, time to play Hangman. And then what we essentially want to do is have guesses. So you're going to have 6 guesses to guess the word. Actually, no, you're going to have how many? Yeah, you are going to have 6 guesses because you've got to build up the Hangman. We're going to build the little Hangman in a minute where he actually hangs. Actually, in fact, let's do that now. So I'm copying this in for another script, but basically I've copied in the kind of initial state. So we've got an array here that just carries some strings. Don't worry too much about this. I'm going to upload this to GitLab so you can copy all the code in. But basically, we've got an array or a list of stages where, you know, the first item in the list is the kind of the head, torso, body, arms, and one leg, all the way up until the initial empty state of here. So your guesses are going to be, or in fact, our guesses remaining are going to be the length of stages. So we're going to say time to play Hangman. Yeah, and I'm going to say word to guess is a list, actually, sorry. So we've got word to guess is a list times the length of the word. Guesses remaining is going to be the length of the stages, because obviously each time you go through the stages, you add a body part onto the Hangman. And I'm going to also say, have we guessed the word is false. Okay, so we're going to say time to play Hangman, and then we're going to use our very clever little while loop here. So while we have guesses remaining of greater than 0, so while we have some guesses remaining and we've not guessed the word, we're going to enter this code block. So we're going to do something here. Okay, so while we've got some guesses, while our guesses are remaining, so we have guesses greater than 0, and we've not guessed the word, we're going to be doing something here. So the first thing we need to do is print out the Hangman. So if I print out stages dot guesses remaining -1, Remember when I was talking earlier in the earlier video about how lists are indexed from 0? We need to say, so our guesses remaining are going to be like the length of this, of stages, which the length of this is 6. But there isn't an index 6, so we have to -1 here. So I'm going to print out stages, and I'm also going to print out our word to guess. But we're probably going to get an error message here. Oh golly, I've entered a for loop. So every time we go around this loop, what we're going to have to do is say guesses remaining equals guesses remaining -1. We can actually write this as a little bit of Python syntactic sugar, where we can say guesses remaining minus equals 1, and that will take a guess off every time. So every time we go around this loop, we're going to lose a guess. And now you see when I run this, it's going to print them all out. Oh, it's not printed out. Word to guess. No, I want word to display to be printed out. But you can see here it's printing out the list of things here, which is not what we want, is it? We actually want the word. So what I can do is do something clever here, called another function called .join. So what I'm doing is I'm just joining all the items in this list up together with the separator of nothing, and that will print out the word very nicely. So we'll come down here and you can see now I've got this thing, but we're still printing them all out because we're not really doing anything with it. So what we need to do is we need to use some conditions to work out what we're going here. So first off, we need to get an input from the user. So we need to say the letter is, if you call this input function in Python, it will ask the user for some input. So if we say, what letter do you guess? Like this, and I'm going to cast that letter to uppercase, just so we've got that. We're going to have the letter from the user, and that will prompt us for the user. Then we can say something like, if the letter is in the word to guess, this means we have guessed a letter. And I'm also going to add another one here. So this is guessed letters, which is going to be an empty array. So I'm going to say if the letter is in word to guess, then we've guessed the letter. Else if the letter is in our guessed letters, then we have already guessed this. So try again. I'm going to say otherwise we didn't guess a letter, so lose a life. So here we would actually be where we put our guesses remaining -1, because we've lost the life at this point. So I'm going to say print sorry, your letter is not in the word. And what we can actually do is be quite clever here. So rather than just saying your letter, if we wrap this in curly braces like this, and then put an F at the start of this, this will swap in our letter variable that we've declared here and pop it in here. So I'm going to build this out a little bit more before I test run this. So here we want to say print, we guessed a letter in the word, so that's good. And then what we need to do is essentially replace the word to display with like the actual thing. So obviously word display them and it's got all underscores on it, and we need to replace that with actually the letter you've guessed. So we're going to say replace word to display with guessed letter. So we've got it. So if letter is in the word to guess, oh no, sorry, I put this in the wrong place. I'm actually going to swap these around. So I'm going to say if, else if, there we go. So sorry, else if. So here I'm going to say print, I'm going to say you already guessed this, you already guessed letter, so try again. And what I need to do here is each time you iterate around this loop, I'm going to append, so not guesses remaining, guess letters, I'm going to append the letter you guessed. So each time we go around this loop, what I'm going to do is populate the guess letters with the letter. So every time we come in here next time, it will go, right, have I seen this letter before? If I have, you've already guessed this letter, so try again. And you won't lose a life for that, because you only lose a life if you come into this code block. In the event that you picked a letter that is actually in the word to guess, then we've guessed the letter. Woohoo, you found the letter in the word. I can probably kind of remove that comment now because it says it in the print, but we do need to replace the word to display with the guessed letter. So this should basically kind of be the crux of our game so far. So you see we've got time to play Hangman, which is being printed out here. We are printing out the actual Hangman stages, and we're printing out the word to display, and then I'm saying what letter do you want to guess, which is this prompt here, and then we're going to enter this logic. So it's kind of holding at this point until I enter something. So I press A, it says sorry, A is not in your word, and you can see I've added a little head there, so I'm going to say E. It says, oh woohoo, you found E in the word, but so I didn't lose a life because the head hasn't moved, but this hasn't been replaced. So I think that's the next thing we kind of want to do. So what do we want to do here? We essentially, you remember when I was talking about your for loops earlier, we want to go through the word to display. So if you look at word to display at the minute, it's a list. It's a list that contains essentially however many word to guesses of these underscores. So if I just print word to display, let's put it in somewhere sensible. So let's put it right under Hangman. I rerun that. You can see it's a list of just however many of these are in there, and then I've just joined it later to be all of these. So essentially what I want to do is go through, if you guess the correct letter here, what I want to do is replace that with the actual letter that you've got. So in order to do that, I need to find at what point in the array is your guessed letter. So I'm going to say for the index and the character, you remember in word to guess. So you remember when we were in the for loop video, I told you about enumerate, which tells you about, it gives you the item that you're iterating over and also the index. I'm going to say if the character is equal to the letter. So if the character in the word to guess is equal to the letter that we've guessed, then we found the word to guess. So at that point, I know the index is going to be this index here. So we can say essentially, what would it be? It would be word to display at this index should be equal to the letter, and that should be our kind of good way to kind of fix up or replace these. So if I rerun this now, play Hangman again, if I guess the letter A is wrong, sorry, A is not on the word. E, C, there we go. Look, now see how that E popped in? It wasn't there before, and then we guessed E and we got it now. So it looks like that's actually working. U looks like, oh, what's this going to be? Oh, this looks like YouTube, right? So if I go U, T, U, and then if I go B, that should complete the game. No, it's not completing the game. You found B in the word. Interesting. Oh, because it's yeah. Okay, fine. So we're gonna keep going around this loop because we've still got guesses remaining and we've not guessed the word. So in order to kind of break out this loop, actually, you don't even need this. I don't think. We can remove this. So we can remove this. What I'm going to say down here is that we're going to use our very clever break command. So I'm going to say if, notice how you must always indent these by 4 as well. So these all must be on the same level. I'm going to say if there is, this icon is not in the word to display, then I know that we have basically won the game. So I'm going to say print you won. I'm going to say you won. Yeah. So I'm saying if this character is not in word to display, because obviously every time we go around we're replacing them. So once you've guessed the whole word, that character is now not in word to display. So if it's not in word to display, then I know you've won. But I also need to check that if guesses remaining equals 0, then I need to print, oh no, it is Hangman. You are out of guesses. So there's 2 little edge cases at the end of every loop. So as we go through and do all this check, I need to make sure that if we haven't got any underscores in the word to display, then I know that you've won. And I'm going to use the break keyword that we learned in the loop section earlier to break out of this loop. Or if guesses remaining equals 0, then I know that you haven't got any guesses remaining, and we're now in Hangman, so you're out of guesses. So let's run this now and see what happens. I'm going to say A, N, I, O, U. What's that word? That looks like soft. Where? So if I guess this R now, which is the last character, it should break out the loop because there are no more underscores in the word. Because when I get R, it will come into here, it will replace this. Words to display won't have any of these in it anymore, and it should come into here and break out the loop. Let's see what happens. Yes, woohoo, you found R in the word. You won. Nice, wicked. And let's see if our other our other case works. So I think that word's engineer. So as long as I just don't type anything that's engineer, you can see as I'm, oh god, you've already used A, I've not used Z, X. There we go. So sorry, Z's not in the word. Then I guess the letter X and said sorry your X is, that should be sorry X is, sorry. X is not in the word. Oh no, it's Hangman, you're out of guesses, because at this point here, Hangman's hanged, right? He's got all his body parts and he's hung out, so you're out of guesses. There we go. So this is basically our Hangman game. So you can now go through and play. So every time you click this button, you can rerun, you can start building up your guesses. So what do I want to guess? A, E, I, O, U. I can go through and keep playing. It will Hangman if I'm out of guesses. It will keep doing this little pretty picture for you. And that's basically your first little mini project in Python in only really kind of like, what, 25 lines of code? Because most of the lines of code are after me this making the Hangman thing look pretty cool. But yeah, there you go. There is your first project in Python using all of the information that we've taught previously in this video tutorial series. So if you're following along with that, then there's nothing here that really should be too complex. Maybe the package thing where I imported random was a bit different, and when I did .append to append the letter of the guest letters. But we're going to go over these in the next section. What I wanted to do with this here is just show you that the things you've learned already are so powerful that you can actually start building things. So you build yourself a little Hangman game. There's probably loads of other games that you can build now. I don't know, like maybe kind of tic-tac-toe. That could be like a little project that you try now, or like maybe guess the letter name, or guess the character. So make the computer pick a random number between, I don't know, 0 and 50. And then you have to keep going until you guess the number and something like this, or that's quite a popular one. But I want to show you that like what you've got, the tools that you've got in your toolkit you're already at the point where you can start building things and making things with Python. That's what I want to emphasize with this video and this little mini project. We're going to be doing these little mini projects throughout, so hopefully they kind of give you a good little milestone to be like, right, I've learned some bits, let's apply that to a project. I've learned some more bits and apply that to the project, but at the end we're going to build like a nice big project where it's actually something meaty. That's what I want you to achieve out of this kind of video tutorial series, where as we go through, you're learning on all the bits you've learned before, and something that you feel like you're actually applying your coding. You're not just doing all this kind of like technical knowledge and not applying the actual practical side of coding. You're actually getting skills. So hopefully that made sense. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. Please reply to anyone else that's got questions or comments for these videos. And so if something tripped you up and you manage to solve it and debug it, obviously, you know, comment for other people that comment on this video as well. So thank you very much for your time, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you in the next one.